Part 1. I have the option of love in the starry sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 1. I'm in the starry sky, I have love options. Author, Lo Kashigu. Introduction. Bo Chang traveled through time, and as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the Star Core Hunters, Silver Wolf and Kafka. The romance option has been activated. Option 1, at this moment, you can no longer hesitate, please shout to Kafka, Mom. Completion reward, you can randomly obtain the power of one of the 12 talismans. Option 2, shouting loudly is degrading to politeness and can easily scare others. You can try tenderly saying, Kafka. Completion reward, Kafka's big butt pocket. Option 3, as a person who appears suddenly, maybe you should be normal and make a puzzled expression, who are you? Completion reward, open a rich life and obtain the power of random imaginary numbers. Bo Chang complained helplessly, what kind of love option are you talking about? You don't see anything related to love at all. Until some time later. Only then did the black-haired boy realize the tragic reality of love being an option, but actually being a love-impaired option. Watching Seeing, March Chi, Jitsi and other girls mill around. Bo Chang, I want to fall in love. Relationship options, no, you don't want to. Volume 1. Chapter 1 Mom. Cold, endless cold swept through the body. Bo Chang felt like he was lying in the ice and snow without any clothes. The black-haired boy wanted to open his eyes, but he couldn't open them at all, as if he was dreaming. The voices of two women sounded at this time. What's going on with this guy? Buy one, get one free? This is not in Elio's script. I don't know. Anyway, when someone from the Star Dome train comes over, we don't need to worry about him, just leave him here. Two female voices. The first one is very gentle, with a hint of charm, and it sounds like the attribute of a royal sister. The latter one is very crisp, and the tone is cold and clean. You don't need to think about it to know that it is a 3-no, very a kind. My room, why are there girls? What do they mean by what they say, Elio? Star Dome train? Hiss, why does it sound so familiar? Time passed by like a fleeting moment, and everything in the world was like a white cloud. After his brain was running rapidly, he suddenly realized something, wait a minute, isn't that the Star Dome Railway? Have I traveled through time? Bo Chang tried hard to open his eyes, intending to see what was going on outside. Struggle hard. Finally, after my eyelids trembled slightly, the black-haired boy's eyes opened. The pupils shrink, the light is focused, and the vision becomes clearer little by little. Lying on the ground, Bo Chang began to look at his surroundings. The square room was like a prison. Except for a display screen and a booth-like thing, there are no other decorations. Not far from him lay a young girl. Next are the two women in front, just like Bo Chang's intuition just now. One big and one small. Cough. Bo Chang refers to appearance age, absolutely nothing else. Well, he opened his eyes and woke up faster than a star. I'll leave it to you, Kafka. The silver-haired girl is short, with a tall spiral ponytail and a cold expression. It is worth mentioning that her clothes are very cool. The upper body is an open black jacket with white plush, revealing a slender white waist. Underneath is a white one-shoulder short t-shirt and black bra to cover the mysterious bulge. The lower body is wearing black shorts and two leg rings, the round and beautiful legs are exposed without reservation, and the feet are wearing black boots with fishnet stockings underneath. She is, Silver Wolf. Although the third dimension and the second dimension are different, Bo Chang guessed the identity of the other party in an instant. That salt and pepper face is still somewhat recognizable. It's just that the figure isn't pretty enough, it feels like it's padded. Convinced. Traveled through. He really traveled through time. Everything familiar in front of him told Bo Chang this fact, forcing him to believe it. I just stayed up late and played on the Star Dome Railway. Why did I travel through time? Then let me do it. While Bo Chang was complaining in his heart, another woman named Kafka spoke. Her voice attracted the black-haired boy's attention, and he moved his eyes over. Her long burgundy hair and eyes of the same color are captivating. Compared to Silver Wolf, Kafka is in much better shape. Although she was not wearing cool clothes at all, and her whole body was almost covered with fabric, but, whether it was the fullness of her chest or her long, round legs wrapped in burgundy stockings, all are tools to attract attention. Just when Bo Chang was about to speak, a neutral electronic sound sounded in his mind. The romance option has been activated. Option 1, at this moment, you can no longer hesitate, please shout to Kafka, Mom. Completion reward, you can randomly obtain the power of one of the 12 talismans. Option 2, shouting loudly is degrading to politeness and can easily scare others. You can try tenderly saying, Kafka. Completion reward, Kafka's big butt pocket. Option 3, as a person who suddenly appeared, maybe you should be more normal and make a puzzled expression, who are you? Completion reward, open a rich destiny and gain random imaginary power. And at the moment when the electronic sound sounded, Bo Chang found that the whole world seemed to have been paused. Except for his consciousness that could still think, his body could not move or breathe. Everything in this space stopped, including Kafka who was approaching him. Bo Chang, who was lying on the ground, took this opportunity. He took a good look at Kafka. If his eyes were not unable to move, he would definitely look at Silver Wolf more. There is only one reason, to be happy. After appreciating Kafka, Bo Chang began to pay attention to his love option. A blue light screen appeared in front of him, with the specific contents of the 3 options written on it. So, is this my time travel cheat? It looks like a system, and it can even stop time, but the options are all weird. Where's the promised love option? Please note that the love option does not provide a time stop service when making a choice. The current time stop just extends a very short time to infinity, so it creates an illusion of time stop. Bo Chang was shocked. Huh? Can you still answer questions? This time, the electronic sound did not sound. Bo Chang thought about it. Then can I stay in this state forever? 1 minute at most. Warning, now you have 33 seconds to make a decision. If you don't make a choice, the love option will make a random decision for you. With a frown on his eyebrows, the black-haired boy asked tentatively, where did you get this system, so brave? The other party did not answer, so Bo Chang could only change the question. Can I have them all? No, after you make a choice, the reward will be issued immediately, and the next option will be invalidated. There are still more than 20 seconds left. Bo Chang carefully studied the 3 options. There is no need to even look at option 2, just rule it out. Who wants Kafka's big pussy? I'm not a pervert. The only options left are options 1 and 3. The reward for option 3, open a rich destiny and gain random imaginary power. It is the right way to this world. It may not be very good, but it will definitely not be bad. As for the reward for option 1, you can randomly gain the power of one of the 12 spells. This is actually a bit like gambling. Draw the tiger and the sheep. To be honest, I am a little annoyed. After all, these 2 spells are of no use for the time being. Then I will, option 1. Bo Chang made his decision. The reason is also very simple. Except for the tiger and the sheep, the other spells are all good. It is considered that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. If you can draw the rat spell, you can also revive your 2-dimensional wife. Although it is also useless, but it is cool enough. Time resumes its flow. It seems that an irrepressible emotion is brewing in my heart. Bo Chang shouted at Kafka, Mom. It was only after he finished shouting that Bo Chang felt embarrassed, but fortunately he was thick-skinned enough and did not show any abnormality. Kafka's footsteps suddenly stopped, staring at the black-haired boy in front of him with a look of astonishment. The other party looked about 18 years old. He had flowing black hair and a handsome face, but he was only wearing a pair of SpongeBob's shorts. The first impression was not very good. Silver Wolf, who was chewing bubble gum, had just blown out a light pink bubble. But he was shocked by Bo Chang's word "Mom." Chapter 2 Silver White Pen. The bubble gum stuck to the side of Silver Wolf's mouth, like a beard wrapped around it, which looked a bit funny. I have the option of love in the starry sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 2. The silver-haired girl couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth and said, "Kafka, when did you have a son? Okay, you'd better clean up the bubble gum from your mouth before you talk." Kafka sighed, "Son or something, it's better not to make such jokes. You know that won't happen." Indeed, Kafka didn't even have a boyfriend, so how could he have a son? Of course Silver Wolf knew, he just wanted to tease the other party. Then he obediently cleaned up the bubble gum. Kafka looked helplessly at Bo Chang lying on the ground and said, "This child is probably asleep." Just like a newly hatched chick or duck, the first creature it sees after hatching is its mother. Silver Wolf added in a cold tone. Kafka drawled her voice and spoke out in a voice with a hint of laziness. Okay, let's talk about something serious, such as, who are you? Why are you here?" Saying. Kafka knelt down and stared at Bo Chang with his gentle wine-red eyes. A light aroma follows. It makes people feel relaxed and happy. But Bo Chang's mind was not on Kafka, but on his own reward. Rewards are being distributed. Congratulations on gaining the power of the Dragon Talisman. Dragon Talisman. This wave of blood gain. The black-haired boy was a little surprised. For a moment, Bo Chang only felt a warm current flashing through his body, and there was an explosive power in his body. As long as he wanted to, he could release it at any time and destroy everything in front of him. This is power. It is the power of the dragon spell. Love option does not issue rewards in the form of spells. Instead, he directly gave the power of the dragon talisman to Bo Chang. That's cool. Kafka didn't understand why the black-haired boy in front of her was staring at her. His eyes were shining brightly, just when she was about to slap him in the face to wake him up. Bo Chang came to his senses and said, My name is Bo Chang. I don't know why I appeared here, I was sleeping at home. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was lying here." Bo Chang shook his head, saying that he didn't know what happened. Kafka looked at Silver Wolf, who had unknowingly opened a translucent screen in front of him. The silver-haired girl said, there was no sign of lying. What he said should be true. Well, I don't know what happened. Could it be that he was teleported here by someone? Kafka just stared at Silver Wolf silently. His eyes seemed to say, was it a good thing you did? This matter has nothing to do with me. Silver Wolf put his hands on his hips. I'm not that boring. The woman with long burgundy hair thought about it and found that it was indeed the case. So he shifted his gaze and looked at Bo Chang. Kafka said softly, why do you call me Mom? Faced with this problem, Bo Chang didn't know how to deal with it, and the love option didn't jump out. So I can only say it bravely. I shouted out subconsciously, sorry, I accidentally scared you. Bo Chang smiled and tried to calm down his emotions. Silver Wolf objected, the heartbeat speeds up, the blood pressure rises. He lied, it seems that he called you this on purpose, but I don't know his intention of doing this. Is he trying to arouse your maternal nature? Bo Chang was a little strange. Even though he was far away, he didn't feel what equipment Yinlang had put on him. How did the other party detect lies? So precise. Do you care about this? Silver Wolf looked at Bo Chang. It's just a gadget, very effective against ordinary people. Those silver pupils showed indifference. Bo Chang felt cold all over and subconsciously looked away. Only then did he notice. It turned out that I was only wearing a pair of SpongeBob SquarePants underwear. It looked like he traveled through time while sleeping, without even changing his clothes. Lying on the cold floor wearing only a pair of underpants. It's weird if it's not cold. This discovery also made Bo Chang feel a little shy. Have you decided what to do with him? Silver Wolf's voice sounded. Kafka did not intend to pursue the matter of Bo Chang calling her mother, and said, he is just an ordinary person, just leave him here. But he's already seen us. Silver Wolf replied, she and Kafka are both Star Corps hunters affiliated with a mysterious organization, and the entire organization is on the wanted list of the Interstellar Peace Company. Listening to the exchange between the two, Bo Chang suddenly felt a sense of crisis in his heart. We are not extremely vicious criminals, and there is no need to do anything excessive. Kafka looked at the black-haired boy tenderly, you won't talk nonsense, right? Bo Chang nodded repeatedly. Silver Wolf said, what I mean is, just clearing his memory, forget it, since you don't plan to do this, it doesn't matter, the star over there is about to wake up, Kafka, just go and leave this person to me. Bo Chang was a little embarrassed, but he didn't expect that the other party could not only detect lies, but also have the means to erase memories. These were not shown at all in the original plot. Fortunately, he escaped. After hearing this, Kafka stood up and walked towards another girl lying next to her. That is, the protagonist of the game Star Dome Railway. Bo Chang remembers that there are two optional protagonists in the game, Seeing and Kyung. The star is a girl and the sky is a boy. He was lucky enough to encounter a star instead of a firmament. Put your clothes on, it's indecent of you. Silver Wolf casually threw a set of black clothes over and covered the black-haired boy. After struggling for a few times, Bo Chang slowly sat up. He felt that his body was a little tired and his control was not very sensitive. If it hadn't been for the power of the dragon talisman just injected into him, he might not even be able to do this simple action of sitting up. Probably a sequelae of time travel. Next to him, Kafka was talking to Seeing. Your mind is in chaos now. You don't know who you are and why you are here. Bo Chang listened to the lines that had appeared in the plot. Put your clothes on slowly. After looking carefully, Bo Chang found that this outfit was almost exactly the same as Kyung's outfit. Looking at it this way, he and Seeing Yang looked like they were wearing couples outfits. Phew, it's much warmer now. Bo Chang exhaled gently. At this time, Kafka has almost communicated with Star. Silver Wolf put his hands on his hips and said impatiently, how much longer do we have to talk? According to the script, the people from the Star Dome train will be here soon. We shouldn't follow them up there. I know, Silver Wolf, just a little while, you should do your own thing first. Kafka's eyes fell on the star again. Yinlang rolled her eyes cutely, she walked up to Bo Chang, covered her eyes with the blue goggles on her head with her slender hands, and took out a silver-white pen. Looking at him. The silver wolf, which is less than 1.5 meters tall, looks small. What does she mean? Just when Bo Chang was stunned, the silver-white pen flashed with strong light. Chapter 3 Let That Girl Go. This scene seems familiar. Bo Chang suddenly realized that he had seen a similar situation in the movie Men in Black, and then thinking about the erasure of memory just mentioned by Silver Wolf, he suddenly guessed what it was. Memory erasing rod. No. Didn't you just say? His eyes blurred and he felt a headache quickly. Just when Bo Chang was in a trance, he felt as if someone had knocked him on the neck. Then his eyes went black and he fainted in an instant. Kafka helped the black-haired boy and let him lie down on the ground. Silver Wolf said, it's better to just let him fall down on his own. What you do, is simply unnecessary and a waste of our time. If you treat everyone so casually, don't you think you won't get married in the future? Kafka teased with a melodious tone. This has nothing to do with you, and I haven't thought about who I want to marry. Yinlang put her hands on her hips, her face was stern, and she didn't give the other party a good look. If you don't leave, it will be too late. Then let's go. Kafka stood up, looked back at Xing and Bo Chang who had fainted, and then left. Walk on the road. The woman with long burgundy hair said something more. Silver Wolf, you haven't erased too many memories. It's only been cleared for half an hour. It won't have any impact on him. Don't worry about me doing my job. Silver Wolf glanced at Kafka. Why, it feels like you are paying close attention to that boy. Do you really want to recognize him as your son? Although this is the first time I've been called mom, I'm not that gloomy. I'm just curious about this boy who suddenly appeared. After all, he's not in Elio's script. Kafka, who was walking with long legs, walked straight forward with slow and powerful steps. The long and short black leather boots made a crisp sound on the ground. Because he is just an ordinary person who entered by mistake. He may have secrets hidden in him, but it is not important. Silver Wolf pushed up the blue goggles again. Kafka narrowed her wine-red pupils and said, I hope so. If you care so much, you might as well go back and take him away. This can also prevent any accidents. Silver Wolf stopped and made his own suggestion. Kafka shook her head and continued moving forward without stopping. Forget it, this isn't a good place for us. Let him make his own way. When you say that, it makes me feel like you are really an old mother. Silver Wolf followed up and complained. The two disappeared into the long corridor while chatting, leaving only Bo Chang and Xing lying in an unknown room. I don't know how much time has passed. Two human voices sounded in my ears again. The coordinates of these two people were not sent by the space station. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I have the option of love in the starry sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 3. Why bother at this time? These two living people are right in front of us, they can't be fake. The first voice was a steady male voice. The second voice was a crisp female voice. The voice came from far away and they hurried over. Such a familiar feeling, did I just experience it? Half asleep and half awake, Bo Chang had a headache, and he also felt a big hand pressing his pulse. The voice next to him did not stop. This boy is fine. This girl, her heartbeat and pulse are very weak. Sanyu, prepare for artificial respiration. I don't have much experience. Danhan, you come. The woman seemed to be startled, and her voice became sharp. A neutral electronic sound sounded. The love option is turned on. Option 1, opportunity is not available, artificial respiration, we have no choice but to shout, let go of that girl, let me do it. Completion reward, physical fitness increased by 100%. Note, this option requires artificial respiration to be completed quickly, otherwise unpredictable consequences will occur. Option 2, as a gentleman, you will never do such a thing to take advantage of others. Just pretend nothing happened, lie still, and wait for the plot to happen. Completion reward, credit points increase by 100,000. Note, credit points will increase by 100,000 directly after you have an account with Interstellar Peace Company, and will not arouse suspicion. Option 3, twitch all over and attract others to do artificial respiration for you. Completion reward, Dan Hung's big pussy. In the originally dark world, a blue light screen appeared, and every word came into view. This is Bo Chang's love option. Under its stimulation, Bo Chang began to recall what happened just now. Silver Wolf and Kafka, I have traveled through time and should be in the space station of the Black Tower now. Next is, the memory eraser? But, I still remember, why? Is it because of the system? It should be Dan Heng and March 7th who are here now, and the plot has officially begun. After thinking for a while, Bo Chang began to observe the new options. Then he couldn't help but complain. Is this big cunt really a reward? How come it appears twice in a row? Don't show it for the third time, please. And these other two rewards don't seem to be as good as the first time. Is it past the novice period? The neutral electronic sound showed no sign of sounding, as if silently waiting for Bo Chang to make a choice. Only the green countdown in the hidden place in the lower left corner kept moving. 20, 19. There was not much time left for Bo Chang. Just like the first time, the big cunt was eliminated first. He didn't want to be treated by Dan Heng for epilepsy. Only option 1 and option 2 were left. Physical fitness increased by 100%, and credit points increased by 100,000. One is to improve strength. The other is to improve wealth. That's right, credit points are the currency of the Stardome Railway world, and also the hard currency for space travel. If you want to develop steadily, option 2 is definitely a good choice. As the saying goes, money makes the world go round. No matter in which world, money is indispensable. But, Bo Chang knew that the space station was facing the attack of the antimatter army, and he would not be able to do without strength next. What's more, the black-haired boy wanted to show his strength in front of everyone. Take the opportunity to get on the Stardome train. Although he should be respected by everyone with the power of the dragon spell, Bo Chang still wanted to become stronger. Compared to money, strength is more important in the current situation. It's just that the requirements of the options are a bit weird, but, anyway, I won't suffer any loss, it's still a profit. Bo Chang muttered in his heart, and it seemed like a little devil was patting his shoulder, urging the black-haired boy to act quickly. He didn't make a decision immediately. Bo Chang was looking for the angel in his heart. The result was, he didn't find it. Then it's a happy decision, option 1. After making a choice, Bo Chang, who was originally unconscious, woke up quickly. He sat up suddenly, stretched out his big hand to the three people beside him, and said, "Let go of that girl, let me do it." Dan Heng and San Yuqi turned their heads and watched the black-haired boy rushing over. Chapter 4 Artificial Respiration. For a moment, Dan Heng and San Yuqi were stunned. Because the boy and girl were wearing similar clothes, they assumed that they were siblings, lovers, colleagues, or friends. Faced with Bo Chang's initiative to do artificial respiration, the two did not stop him. 1 step, 2 steps. In order to do artificial respiration, Bo Chang has stimulated all the potential of his body. He strives to rush to seeing side in the shortest time to prevent the other party from waking up before artificial respiration. The two are not far apart. It takes about 3 steps to get there. In this process, Bo Chang also saw Seeng's face clearly. A head of dark gray long hair spread on the ground, soft and beautiful. The delicate facial features are dotted on Guizi's face, and Lu Yemei's eyebrows are slightly wrinkled, making her look even more attractive. Oops, she seems to be waking up. Bo Chang took the last step. He pushed March Chi without warning, telling her to get out of the way. He was caught off guard. The pink-haired girl was really pushed and staggered. When she came back, God comes. The black-haired boy was almost kissing the gray-haired girl. And at this time, Xingyi opened her eyes. She stared blankly at Bo Chang, who was getting closer and closer, and subconsciously turned her head to avoid it. His lips touched the side of the other person's face. When Bo Chang was about to blow, he felt something was wrong. This touch is not lips. Opening his eyes suddenly, Bo Chang saw the gray-haired girl with a sideways face, squinting at him. She seemed to be still confused. Nothing happened. Just looking at Bo Chang with those beautiful golden eyes. March Ki, who rushed over, slapped the black-haired boy on the side of his face, pushed him away, and said, "Stop. Shut up. She's already woken up." Bo Chang couldn't resist that force, so he was forced to separate from Seeing, and made a small sound of boo. Seeing didn't know why, but he just felt a strange feeling rising in his heart. It's over, the speed is still a little slow. If I didn't push March 7th just now, I should be able to kiss her. Wait, if I don't push her, San Yu Chi will definitely stop me soon, it's so annoying. Bo Chang, who was pushed away, suddenly felt uneasy and worried about what kind of punishment the love option would impose. Unpredictable consequences. What exactly is it? It doesn't matter, Bo Chang believed that he would know it right away. Sure enough. A neutral electronic sound immediately sounded. Option 1 is 50% complete. Rewards are being distributed in half. Congratulations on your 50% physical improvement. A warm current was flowing through his body, and Bo Chang could feel that his physique was improving rapidly. That kind of comfortable feeling makes people want to scream. After a while, the reward is over. Noticing that there was no other sound prompt, Bo Chang was also stunned and thought to himself, no more. Love option has no intention of answering. Bo Chang continued to speak, that's it? He didn't expect that unpredictable consequences would end so easily. This greatly reduced his respect for the system. Bo Chang was thoughtful. I see, you must be a member of the Mouse Station system, right? Bo Chang, who is getting more and more courageous, continues to test, when are you going to become your wife? Love options pretending to be dead. No matter how much Bo Chang called, there was no response. Maybe he was thinking about what women's clothing would be better to wear in the future. Cross out. Just when the black-haired boy was thinking wildly. March 7th is talking to Seeing. Are you okay? Can you hear me clearly? Do you still remember your name? The pink-haired girl asked a lot of questions. For some reason, Bo Chang could understand what they were saying, and it was obvious that others could understand what he was saying. For unknown reasons, Bo Chang pushed everything to the love option. That is, your own system. Although the other party never admitted that he was the system, Bo Chang had already given it the acquiescence. Dan Heng's eyes shifted to the black-haired boy. Hello, what happened here? Why are you lying here? After his mind went blank for a second, Bo Chang immediately replied, I don't know, I don't remember anything. Seeing next to him said similar words to Bo Chang. Both of them pressed their foreheads. Actions are unusually synchronized. Are both of them amnesiacs? That would be troublesome. March Chi turned around and spread her hands. Do you still remember your names? Please try to remember them. Seeing, my name is Seeing. After thinking for a while, Seeing gave this answer. I have the option of love in the starry sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 4. Bo Chang subconsciously wanted to say his real name. Suddenly he thought it would be better to say Kian, but considering the Star Core Hunter, he didn't mess around and honestly reported his real name. Bo Chang. March 7 heard it, his mouth slightly widened, showing a surprised expression. Your last name is G. My last name is Bo, not G. Bo Chang smiled kindly and complained in his heart, what the hell? Why does the Starry Sky world also have this joke? It should be said, is it worthy of being a Yanhuang game? About the name Bo Chang. Before crossing, the black-haired boy was often teased by his friends, so he also got a nickname G. Bo Chang. I didn't expect that even after crossing, he would still be mentioned by others. It's really hard to complain. Zing Bo Chang. Hello, my name is Dan Heng, this is March 7. The man with black hair and blue eyes interrupted the conversation between Bo Chang and the pink-haired girl. After hearing Dan Heng introduce himself, San Yuqi put one hand on her delicate clavicle, and she smiled sweetly, as if nothing had happened just now. Dan Heng's eyes swept over Xing and Bo Chang, and continued, "This space station was attacked by the antimatter core. We were commissioned by Station Master Esta to come to rescue. The antimatter core is the thugs of the destroyer star god Nanook, and their goal is to destroy all civilizations and creatures. They are the main enemies in the first plot of the game Star Dome Railway. Speaking of which, I just started exploring the world of Yelilo, and I encountered a time travel. If it could be later, it would be better. Now I know too little information. In addition, Bo Chang doesn't like to read the plot carefully when playing games, so the situation is even worse. It can be said that I was almost in the dark. Except for knowing that the anti-star weapon of the antimatter core Doomsday Beast will attack next. Other details are basically forgotten. I guess I can only remember it when I experience it again. Well, Bo Chang may not be able to remember. It seems that I can only explore this world in person in the future. The gray-haired girl did not ask Dan Heng and San Yuqi as in the original plot, but looked straight at Bo Chang. Xing's eyes attracted his attention. "What's wrong?" Bo Chang touched his face. Although he was a little nervous because he kissed the other party, he still pretended to be nonchalant. Seeing this scene, Dan Heng explained to Xing, "Just now I judged that your vital signs were weak, so Bo Chang planned to give you artificial respiration, but you woke up before it started." Chapter 5 Antimatter Army. I think you should know each other, so I didn't stop it. And, he shouldn't mean to offend you, please rest assured. Dan Heng touched his chin. He was still thinking about the relationship between the two people. Xing shook his head. "I don't remember him." Bo Chang said, "Well, I don't remember her either, but she still looks a little familiar. After all, you see our clothes are so similar, maybe we are a couple." Facing the people on the Starry Sky train. Bo Chang can be bolder. After all, they don't seem to have the weird methods of the Star Core hunters. The black-haired boy spread his hands and opened his windbreaker with black outside and brown inside, revealing the white t-shirt inside. The clothes given by Silver Wolf played a big role at this moment. Xing couldn't be sure either. She turned her body left and right, squinting her golden eyes to look at Bo Chang, and said, "It does look like a couple's outfit, but what if they are brother and sister? Even if the hair color is not the same, they may be colleagues." While the gray-haired girl was looking at herself, Bo Chang was also looking at the other party. The eyes of the two kept rubbing in the air. I have to say, Xing is a very charming girl, tall and not fat or thin. Except for the fact that her chest is a little barren, everything is just right. Before, Bo Chang's attention was basically on Kafka and Silver Wolf. Just now, he was in a hurry to do artificial respiration. Until now, Bo Chang had the opportunity to look at each other carefully. Xing's thoughts were, this person seems very weak. Would I look for such a person? It's unlikely. Could they be siblings, or just ordinary friends? You all lost your memory. It's useless to dwell on these things now. Why not talk about something urgent? March 7 interrupted the conversation between the two and also interrupted their eye contact. Bo Chang and Xing turned their heads to look at her, their eyes calm, which made March 7's head shrink. She said, don't look at me like that. It's creepy. Otherwise, you continue. March is right. Let's consider your relationship when we have a chance in the future. We have more important things to do now. Dan Heng intervened. He didn't wait for Bo Chang and Xing's answers. March, take them back to the main control cabin first. Huh? What about you? March 7 was stunned. Dan Heng crossed his arms and said, Alan from the Defense Department has lost contact nearby. I have to take him back. Well, Okay, then you should be careful. March 7 nodded. As a Star Dome train crew member who often travels through the sea of stars, she is quite confident in her own strength. The antimatter army here is not very strong, they are just a group of stragglers doing evil everywhere. Escorting 2 people to the main control cabin was a piece of cake for March Chi. The only thing to worry about is, it would be troublesome if Bo Chang and Seeing ran around when they saw the enemy. It seemed like both of them had little fighting ability. March 7 feels like this. After the conversation, Dan Heng turned around and left without saying a word. If there is no problem, let's set off. March 7 glanced at Seeing and Bo Chang. Don't worry, Station Commander Esta and the researchers who evacuated in time are all in the main control cabin. Star Dome, the train is also nearby, so it's safe. Don't worry about being attacked by monsters. Trust me, we will solve this crisis. Seeing is not very worried. Although she has lost her memory, she still feels the power contained in her body. That talent that seems to be innate makes people feel at ease. As for Bo Chang, he is not worried. After all, he has thighs around him to hug, and he has also gained the power of the Dragon Talisman, and his physical fitness has increased by 50%. Compared with his previous strength, he has a big improvement. So the two nodded and agreed. Seeing this, March 7 turned his head, pointed at a black metal baseball bat on the ground not far away, and said, "How about, Bo Chang, take that thing with you, the Antimatter Legion is here, the space station is running around like a mad dog, and the way back is not safe, so it's better to bring some weapons for self-defense." As a male, Bo Chang naturally looks more majestic and more capable than Seeing. Therefore, March 7 did not have Seeing pick up a baseball bat like the original plot. Having said that, the pink-haired girl smiled. "It's just a suggestion, it's okay if you don't take it. I'm here. I can protect you." Bo Chang has not made any move yet. Seeing walked over first and picked up the baseball bat. She waved the new weapon twice in her hand, then looked at Bo Chang and said, "Do you want this?" "I don't need a weapon, just take it." Bo Chang showed a harmless smile. Seeing lowered her head and said nothing. The moment she clenched her weapon, she knew how to fight. The casual posture of the black-haired boy. Seeing could rush up to him at any time and give him a blow. As soon as she saw Bo Chang, the gray-haired girl would think that he had kissed her on the side of the face just now, especially when he left. He made a pop sound, which made her feel very complicated. There is also a burning sensation wherever it touches. He just wants to do artificial respiration, don't think too much. Seeing told himself this. March 7 didn't care so much. She led the way, just asking Seeing and Bo Chang to follow closely and not to fall behind. A group of 3 people walked through the long corridor. I saw a lot of booths along the way, each with a novelty on it. They are the collection of the Black Tower, the real owner of the space station, and are also called strange objects. As they walked, March 7 introduced them and said something else. The Black Tower collects these things and doesn't use them. They just leave them here to eat dust. I don't know what they are for. Seeing and Bo Chang, who did not understand the situation, had no intention of speaking. After passing through a door full of technology and passing a curve along the new corridor, the 3 saw the soldiers of the Anti-Material Corps. 2 Void Pawns, the Marauder, and a Baryon. The enemy did not notice us. As March 7 shouted, she rushed forward alone, seemingly wanting to fight alone. Seeing glanced at Bo Chang, and that look seemed to say, "Come together." The black-haired boy nodded. So the 2 of them followed the steps of March 7. Surprisingly, both March 7 and Seeing were extremely fast, not comparable to Bo Chang's. Especially the stars. She came first, past the pink-haired girl, and headed towards the antimatter army. Although she didn't understand what these things were, it was enough to know that the other party was the enemy. A trace of surprise flashed in March Chi's eyes. She didn't expect that the weakling she thought was faster than herself. But, we are for playing bow and arrow. The pink-haired girl took out a blue longbow from nowhere. She bent the bow and nocked an arrow, feeling a sense of competition in her heart. The one who attacks first the enemy is still me, March 7th. Even if you run fast, it will be useless. Chapter 6 Explosion. Even if Bo Chang's physique increases by 50%, it will only become more durable and more resistant to fighting. The strength and agility are still no different from ordinary people, maybe a little weaker. Wanting to keep up with the offensive pace of the two non-human beings. Almost impossible. It had been less than 3 seconds since he discovered the enemy. The distance of tens of meters was like a chasm for the black-haired boy. By the time he ran over, the daylily would probably be cold. Seeing that March 7th was about to launch an attack, Sean was only one step away from the enemy. Bo Chang narrowed his eyes slightly. The first impression is very important. I should show a good enough performance to get a ticket for the Starry Sky train. Then, I can only rely on the power of the Dragon Talisman, Dragon Blast. Don't let me down. This is the thought. Bo Chang raised his hand and pointed at the 3 soldiers of the Antimatter Corps from a distance of dozens of meters. Among them, the Void Soldiers and Plunderers are humanoid monsters wearing black metal armor and 2 golden machetes tied to their wrists. Their bodies are filled with antimatter and negative ions are also surging in their bodies. Therefore, they release a powerful destructive force. They are the basic combat units of the Antimatter Corps, the embodiment of the will of destruction, basically acting on instinct and possessing a very strong aggressiveness. I have the option of love in the Starry Sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 5. Baryon is a round monster with a black ball inside and 3 silver-white carapaces on the outside. It has the same shape as its other brother, the Antibaryon. They are all prepared to prevent antiparticles from spilling out and causing annihilation. Baryons and antibaryons also have basic intelligence and can respond to the will and call of the virtual soldiers on the battlefield to assist in the battle. Although it was a sneak attack, everyone's footsteps still attracted the enemy's attention, and they were looking back to remind teammates that they are about to fire. Bo Chang shouted, "Explosion!" Just at this moment, March 7th shot the ice blue arrow, and at the same time, she also felt the terrifying high temperature coming from behind. It feels like a light on my back. What is this? Bo Chang's attack. Before the pink-haired girl had time to look back, she saw a flame beam as thick as a human waist flying past her, passing the ice blue arrow she shot at a faster speed. Sean became vigilant when he heard Bo Chang's loud shout, and when he felt the turbulent air wave coming from behind. The gray-haired girl sounded the alarm. Without thinking, Sean immediately dodged to the side. The flame beam fell on the body of the void pawn in the middle, the predator, causing a violent explosion. The raging flames drowned the other void pawn and the baryon, who had no time to escape. They struggled in the flames and were burned up. Even the ice blue arrows that rushed in later did not stir up any waves in the flames, as if they had never appeared. The flame beam did not stop. After killing the enemy, it continued to sprint forward, and finally hit the metal wall of the space station heavily, causing an even more violent explosion. Boom! A loud noise was heard, and the entire space station trembled, startling many people. The explosion also set off a shockwave that traveled backwards through the channel, quickly crossing the March 7th and star. Bo Chang watched helplessly as the air waves carrying traces of flames hit him. At the moment when the power of the dragon spell is used, the black-haired boy seemed to have all the power drained from his body. It was as if he had rushed 9 times a day and his legs were all weak. The only reason he didn't fall down was because he still had energy left. But the time was too short and Bo Chang didn't have time to fall down. Ah! Diamond suit, diamond suit! As if he encountered a typhoon that only happens once in 1,000 years, the black-haired boy was instantly blown away, and finally fell to the ground in a large shape. He was dragged for nearly 3 meters before he stopped, and pain spread all over his body. If it weren't for love option, I just strengthened my physique. I'm afraid Bo Chang has been seriously injured. It's actually pretty good now. It was just that the fall was a bit hard, so it felt very painful, but in fact, the injury was not too serious. If not for physical exhaustion, Bo Chang can definitely stand up on his own. Why is the dragon talisman so powerful, and it doesn't work after I use it once? It's clearly not like this in the anime system. What's going on? The dragon talisman is very powerful, which is definitely a good thing. But it's so big. It's a little bit scary. It can't be used at close range, otherwise it will hurt others and yourself, which makes it seem a bit useless. Bo often falls down after just one use, which is even more useless. Using the power of the dragon talisman will consume your own physical strength. Logically speaking, you will not fall down in one go. It is because you cannot control it and use the maximum power you can exert in the anime. It is because the talisman is used as a carrier to assist the rated power is controlled, so this situation will not occur, not to mention those people's physiques are much stronger than yours. As for the power, it is recommended to refer to the actual object, and the power is not too great. If you can fully exert the power of the dragon talisman, you can explode the star with one blow. Love options reply to. Bo Chang was lying on the ground breathing heavily. March 7's pretty face appeared in time. It was obvious that she was not greatly affected by the powerful shockwave generated by the explosion. It was normal to think about it. The pink-haired girl's physique was much better than Bo Chang's. Are you okay? March 7 squatted down and looked at him worriedly. The gray-haired girl also rushed over at this time. Because they were relatively close to the enemy, both the pink-haired girl and Seeing actually faced 2 explosion shock waves. The first time was minimal. The second time was a little more serious, but I could still get through it. They were just a little messy in their clothes. Bo Chang was injured by the second shock wave. The first wave can only feel the strong wind blowing on the face, and the second wave that follows is the real hardliner. A little more powerful. I'm afraid Bo Chang will be seriously injured. After all, the speed of the shockwave was too fast, and March Chi and Seeing were unable to protect him in time. It's okay, it just hurts from the fall. Bo Chang forced out an ugly smile, knowing that the other party was fine, and March Chi felt relieved. The gray-haired girl stared at the black-haired boy's face, tilted her head and said, "You are quite powerful." It's okay, to be honest, I didn't expect that I would be so strong. I just wanted to help, and then. Bo Chang hasn't finished speaking yet. March Chi interrupted him with a bright light in her eyes. Let me tell you, that trick you just did was really cool. Can you perform it again? That's it? The pink-haired girl imitated Bo Chang's tone and shouted loudly, "Explosion!" 3 monsters were killed in one go. I really want to capture that scene with the camera. Bo Chang didn't know for a moment whether the other party was praising him, but looking at the sparkling eyes, he probably really thinks this is cool. My physical strength has been exhausted, I can't use that move anymore. The black-haired boy shook his head slightly. March 7 is a bit regretful. That's it? Watching the interaction between the two, Xing I didn't know what to say for a while. After hesitating for a moment, the gray-haired girl said, "Well, should we set off? Bo Chang, can you still walk by yourself? If not, why not let me carry you on my back? I can't continue to act for the time being. I can only rely on you for the rest." Seeing. Bo Chang turned his head and looked at the gray-haired girl next to him. Chapter 7 Silver Gun Wax Head. The moment the space station shook, it scared many people. After all, this is vast space. Once something big goes wrong with the space station, no one can escape. Esther, the acting director of the space station, is looking for the cause of the vibration. This girl's hair is also pink, but the color is a little darker than March 7th. Now she looks very hurried, her slender fingers keep tapping on the light screen in front of her. Found it? It's the place where MS Black Tower stores rare items. I remember Dan Heng and March Chi also went nearby. Are they fighting the antimatter army? Fortunately, all aspects of the space station are operating normally. After the investigation was completed, Esta breathed a sigh of relief. It's right to think about it. Although this space station was funded by his family, it was also built by the Black Tower. Attacks by ordinary people would not be able to leave the slightest trace on it. Among the antimatter core, the Lord of Extinction must take action to destroy the space station. That is an emissary that can burn galaxies. You can imagine how sturdy the space station is. I hope Dan Heng and March 7th can bring Alan back safely. After hearing that Alan, the head of the Defense Department, had disappeared, Esta was very worried. She was still a little uneasy in her heart, but she couldn't show it on her face. As the acting station director, Esta must reassure everyone on the space station. Don't worry, Esta, Dan Heng and March 7th will definitely find Alan. A red-haired lady walked over from the side, her red lips lightly opened to comfort the acting webmaster. Esta looked at the red-haired woman next to her with a pair of blue eyes. She was wearing a slim-fitting white dress, and her body curves were even worse than the Kafka that Bo Chang had just seen. She is the navigator of the Star Dome train, Heimko. The red-haired lady also wore a long windbreaker that was black on the outside and brown on the inside, which covered her stunning look to a certain extent. Of course, you can still see it clearly from the front. Esta agreed softly, yeah. On the other side, hearing that Scene wanted to take the initiative to take on Bo Chang's responsibility, March 7th did not raise any objection. Anyway, both of them have already decided. What's more, as a combat member on March 7th, she has to be on the front line. It is also not suitable for carrying wounded people. So with the help of the pink-haired girl, Scene John carried Bo Chang on her back. She held the black-haired boy's thighs with both hands to prevent him from sliding down. Even in this case, Scene still did not throw away the baseball bat in his hand, which also resulted in Bo Chang occasionally getting hit in the thigh by the baseball bat. With his chin resting on the gray-haired girl's shoulders and his hands hanging on his sides, Bo Chang slowed down his breathing. Although the baseball bat was uncomfortable when it hit him, it was really comfortable to be carried like this. The other party is still a young girl with exquisite appearance, no faults in her body, and a faint fragrance. More comfortable. Bo Chang sighed in his heart, it's great to be a wounded person. The three of them continued to the main control cabin. Arriving at the metal wall that Bo Chang had blasted, March Chi looked at the wall that was almost burned out with a big crater, and said, my arrows can only make a small crater on it, but you can actually blast it. It's not that big, it's really amazing. The pink-haired girl opened her hands and gestured, looking extremely lively. Scene nodded, thinking whether she also had this kind of power in her body. It seems I have to be more careful. I can't be like Bo Chang. The gray-haired girl warned herself in her heart. March 7th continued, you are handsome, you are powerful, but, you can't stop it after just one shot, it really doesn't last long, Bo Chang, hee hee. If it doesn't last, no matter how handsome you are, you will still have a silver head and a wax head. The pink-haired girl didn't know what she thought of, and suddenly laughed, looking like a flower branch trembling wildly. This can't help but make people a little speechless. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I have the option of Love in the Starry Sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 6. This guy is a bit too unreasonable. Bo Chang glared. Long lasting? How can I not last long? You haven't tried it, how do you know? The black-haired boy didn't say these words in front of the pure girl. It's not clear whether Sanyuki is pure or not. But looking at her like this, she's probably not very pure. Seeing is still quite pure. After all, she was just born. Bo Chang didn't know, anyway, the other party had lost his memory and looked a little stupid. The gray-haired girl couldn't understand what Sanyuki was funny about. I just didn't control the strength well and released all the strength at once. After I train a little bit, I won't be in the embarrassing situation of using anti-aircraft guns to hit mosquitoes today. The black-haired boy defended himself. Becoming a one-hit Superman like Huiwai is absolutely not allowed. Using an anti-aircraft gun to shoot a mosquito, oh, this description is quite appropriate. Sanyuki put away her smile and nodded thoughtfully, then she seemed to realize something. Oh, let's go quickly. The loud noise just now might attract those monsters. Bakang and Sing had no objection. The three continued to set off and soon came to a larger platform. There are many connections here, and there is a vertical elevator in the middle. Sanyuki said that everyone will take the elevator down and go directly to the main control cabin. Are you familiar with the road there? And, it looks like you are not wearing the uniforms of the space station. Are you really from here? Faced with the pink-haired girl's question, both Sing and Bakang replied, I don't remember. There was no way, Sanyuki could only give up. Even if she caught the two and asked, she couldn't get a clear answer. Amnesia is the best excuse. A few steps after arriving at the big platform, the three encountered the enemy again. Bakang, wait for us here. I will come to pick you up after Sanyuki and I have dealt with the enemy. Sing put Bakang down and let him sit against the wall. She held the baseball bat again. The black-haired boy, who was currently a burden to the team, nodded with self-awareness. Sanyuki gave a thumbs up and whispered, don't worry, we can solve the battle soon. After this short contact, the pink-haired girl has clearly realized that the strength of these two people is extraordinary. Bakang is needless to say. Sanyuki believes that if the cannon just now hits her, she will be seriously injured even if she blocks it. If she is hit by a cannon without any defense, she may die directly. The premise is that she hits it. As long as Sanyuki is prepared, she thinks she should be able to dodge it. I didn't react just now. It's all because the pink-haired girl didn't guard against Bakang. As for Sing, although I haven't seen her fight the enemy directly, judging from the speed of the encounter just now, the opponent's physical fitness is much stronger than Sanyuki. Even if he has no combat experience, he can be a strong warrior after a good training. You can't judge a person by his appearance. The pink-haired girl sighed in her heart. Chapter 8 Come. Sneak Attack. March 7 and Sing fought side by side. Just like last time. The gray-haired girl rushed forward, and March 7 bent her bow and drew her arrow behind her. But this time there was no interference from Bo Chang. Ice blue arrows were shot out one after another. Frozen the two heavy suns, making them unable to attack. Sing had just approached the enemy and was about to sneak attack, but one of the tall virtual soldiers reacted and launched a counter-attack first, accompanied by a light tap of the fingertips. The tall virtual soldier shot out a black and purple ray. Sing, with her pupils shrinking slightly, gave up the sneak attack after realizing the danger. She paused and quickly withdrew. The attack of the tall virtual soldier did not hit the target. The black and purple ray fell to the ground, leaving only a small black dot. The power and speed of the attack seemed to be average. I should have been able to force my way through just now, forget it, it's better to be safe. Sing avoided the attack and held the baseball bat tighter. Bo Chang, who was lying not far away, poked his head out and silently watched the battlefield. The tall virtual soldier looked more powerful than the virtual soldier plunderer that everyone had encountered before. if the black-haired boy remembered correctly. This monster should be called the Virtual Soldier Tamperator. Its armor is white, and its body is suspended in mid-air. There are also several balanced white and purple positive and negative particles around it. This thing is a virtual soldier that survived the annihilation effect. It has more special powers and basic intelligence. It can control the actions of the Virtual Soldier Plunderer and the Virtual Soldier Annihilator in a small range. It looks a bit cool. In fact, the Virtual Soldier Tamperator is also a soldier, at most a higher level soldier. There are a total of 4 enemies on the battlefield now. A Virtual Soldier Tamperator, a Virtual Soldier Plunderer and 2 Baryons. Moreover, the 2 heavy children had been frozen by the sneak attack of March 7. They could not break free for a while. Bo-Chang did not need to worry about the safety of the 2 girls. They were completely fine at this level. At this time, the Virtual Soldier Plunderer holding the golden double swords took advantage of Seeing Gang's pause and launched a pursuit. The blade struck quickly. Seeing this, Seeing waved his baseball bat to resist. Unknown power emerged from his body and penetrated into the black baseball bat, making it stronger and unable to be cut off easily. Dang! 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 Facing the continuous attacks of virtual pawns and predators, the gray-haired girl blocked them all unhurriedly, and the golden blade just cut a few sparks on the metal baseball bat. Seeing even supported the opponent's neutral position, pressing a baseball bat against it only the empty chest. Bang! An ordinary black metal baseball bat was struck on the chest of the hollow plunderer. It instantly made it take several steps backward. Bo-Chang could clearly see that the black armor on the chest of the Suzu Marauder was dented. If the weapon in his hand hadn't been pulled across, it would have been replaced by a sturdy long sword. Seeing was able to instantly kill this virtual pawn, the predator, just now. To protect your companions, the Void Pawn and the Tamper launched another attack. The following March 7 was not idle. She had already destroyed 2 frozen baryons. Seeing that her teammates were about to be attacked, she shot an ice blue arrow with great accuracy. Blocked the black-purple ray. This creates an opportunity for Seeing to pursue the enemy. The gray-haired girl did not waste the opportunity and immediately taught the phantom pawn in front of her, the predator, a lesson. The metal baseball bat fell several times, and the enemy's head was severely damaged and he was beaten to death. March 7 shouted, "Well done, let's see what happens next." Having said that, the pink-haired girl jumped up and shot a thick arrow that changed between blue and pink at the Void Pawn and Tamperator. This is an ice arrow. And before falling, they turned into dolls and ice sculptures. All the companions around the Void Soldier and Tamper were already dead, and it was completely unable to dodge in the face of such an offensive. Finally, he was attacked by countless doll ice sculptures. Direct death. The battle is over. Seeing casually swung a few sticks with the baseball bat in her hand. Although it was her first battle, she felt very good. Humph, we are also very powerful. March 7 put her hands on her hips and turned to look at Bo-Chang. This guy is really awesome. 3 of the 4 monsters died in March Chi's hands. Ah, the pink-haired girl looking at the black-haired boy suddenly exclaimed, "Another monster is coming. Careful." Seeing's toes stamped on the ground, rushing towards him quickly like an arrow off its string. Realizing the danger, Bo-Chang looked to the left. It turned out that a Void Soldier, the Marauder, appeared in the place they passed just now. It probably followed the sound and came here. The moment it spotted the black-haired boy, it started to charge. Bo-Chang, who was too focused on Seeing and March 7's battle, didn't notice. Fortunately, the pink-haired girl turned her head and saw it. Otherwise, I'm afraid that after his head was chopped off by the Suzu Marauder, Bo-Chang didn't even know who killed him. The enemy is already very close to him. A distance of 5 meters. Neither March 7 nor Seeing had time to support him. How could you die in a place like this? Without enough time to raise his hand, the weak Bo-Chang could only open his mouth wide and mobilize the little strength in his body. Power the dragon talisman with all your strength. Fiery red flames gathered in the mouth. Before the golden swords fell, a thumb-sized flame beam shot out, accurately hitting the chest of the virtual pawn, the marauder. The violent explosion caused it to take several steps back. I have the option of love in the starry sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 7. Bo-Chang didn't know if he had killed the enemy. After using this dragon blast, he was instantly overwhelmed by endless fatigue. His eyes darkened and he fainted. In a daze, he only saw a figure appearing in front of him. Who is Hoshi? Or is it the Void Pawn and the Marauder? Bo-Chang didn't know that he had already passed out. It hasn't been long since the time traveled, and the black-haired boy has already fainted twice. This feeling is annoying. He's still breathing and has a pulse. Don't worry, he's still alive. He probably just fainted from exhaustion. March 7th said to the star. After Bo-Chang used the last dragon blast to repel the virtual pawns and plunderers. Support from March 7 and star arrived one after another. The pink ray hit Bo-Chang and added a shield to him. Full of anger, Seeing stopped in front of the black-haired boy and launched a violent attack with a black metal baseball bat, instantly killing the Void Pawn and the Marauder. Now March Chi and Xingdu were squatting beside Bo-Chang. In order to check each other's condition, the two of them touched the black-haired boy's body. It seems that the loud noise just now really attracted the monster's attention. Seeing, put Bo-Chang on your back. Let's take the elevator quickly. If we encounter a group of monsters rushing over, we can't bring the wounded with us. Good fight. Com analysis from March 7th. Seeing felt that what the other party said was reasonable and nodded in agreement. Chapter 9 Elite Monster. I don't know how much time has passed. Bo-Chang was woken up by a jolt. Before he opened his eyes, he was the first to sense the faint fragrance in the air. Quiet and distant, like the scent of daffodils. This familiar smell is reassuring. Seeing. Is she still carrying me? Bo-Chang slowly opened his eyes. Just like before, he was being carried by the gray-haired girl. Following Seeing's movements, the skin of the two would occasionally rub against each other, which felt very subtle. The black-haired boy woke up because of this. The pain all over his body and the feeling of overdraft made Bo-Chang so tired that he couldn't breathe. He even felt that it would be better if he simply died like this. Because I can't muster any strength. Bo-Chang was unable to observe the surrounding environment and had no desire to speak. He could only stay silently on Seeing's back, relying on Seeing's weak shoulders and listening to the sounds of everyone running in the space station. 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 footsteps in total. Now we have not encountered any enemies. It means that March 7th and Seeing have already met Dan Heng and Alan. Then didn't I sleep for long? Wait, could it be the scene where I encountered the Doomsday Beast? Then I slept a little too long. Bo-Chang suddenly realized that when everyone encountered the Doomsday Beast, 4 people were running away as well. It's just that Alan became the navigator of the star train, Jitsi. Bo-Chang began to call for love options. System, how long have I slept? 37 minutes and 26 seconds. Love options gave an extremely accurate answer. Was it just over half an hour? Then I woke up very quickly. Bo-Chang muttered in his heart. In half an hour, he could basically be sure that he had not encountered the Doomsday Beast yet. Everyone should still be on their way to the main control cabin. Because you have the power of the Dragon Talisman in your body and your physical fitness has been increased by 50%, you will wake up earlier. If you had completed the artificial respiration perfectly just now and your physical fitness had increased by 100%, you would have woken up earlier. Wait, I can understand the physical improvement, but the quick awakening, what does it have to do with the dragon charm? Isn't it just an attack spell? Bo-Chang was like a curious baby, eagerly waiting for the system to answer questions. Love options also has no hidden thoughts. Ordinary people can use the talisman after they get it, because the talisman contains magic power. When you have the power of the dragon talisman, it also means that you have obtained the magic power of the dragon talisman. The magic power can nourish your body to a certain extent, and the effect is still quite good, remarkable. Then, according to what you said, I just use my physical strength to mobilize the magic power, and then use the dragon explosion. Bo Chang drew inferences and put forward his own idea, then the magic power of the dragon talisman will be used up. Your previous guess is not correct. It is not the physical strength that mobilizes the magic power, but the physical strength that is naturally taken away when the magic power leaves your body. You can think of it as the power of the dragon talisman at work, burns your energy. As for the following question, I can give a positive answer, but with your current strength, you cannot use up the magic power of the dragon talisman, and even if you use it up, your body will automatically absorb the magic power to replenish it, but the speed may be slower. Just when Bo Chang and Love Options were answering questions, the 5-man team encountered the enemy again. And this time it was a sneak attack. Just as March Chi said, "Are we at the elevator entrance now?" We didn't encounter many enemies along the way. Then the enemy came. A huge black-purple arrow rushed towards him, and because of its speed, there was a circle of golden light around it. Fortunately, Dan Heng reacted quickly enough and stepped forward with a spear in hand. Changed the flight path of the huge arrow. Brush. Seeing, who was carrying Bo Chang, quickly took a step back and watched the black and purple arrows fly past him. Dan Heng continued to move forward, blocking a trample attack from the enemy. He himself was kicked back a few steps, and his forearm was stained with a black and purple smoke. Fortunately, it dissipated quickly and did not cause too much damage. Big impact. The visitor is a powerful monster, named Void Pawn Trampler in the game. The upper body is in human form, and the lower body is in the shape of a 4-legged beast. A bit like a centaur in movies and TV shows. However, the opponent's whole body was covered in black and white armor. This is an elite monster with a small number. It has both wisdom and strength, as well as extremely strong mobility. Its scream has the ability to summon a large number of empty soldiers. It can be said to be a very troublesome monster. Everyone showed a serious expression. Scene put down Bo Chang and handed him over to the brown-skinned boy who was struggling to stand beside him. "Alan, you take care of Bo Chang, and the battle will be left to the 3 of us." "Okay." Although he injured his leg and dominant hand in the battle, Alan still took on this arduous task without hesitation. At this time, both Scene and Alan noticed that the black-haired boy had woken up. However, she had no chance to reminisce about the past. The gray-haired girl turned around without hesitation and threw herself into the battlefield. It's time to take care of the wounded. While Dan Heng, March Chi, and Scene were facing off against the enemy, Alan used one leg to drag Bo Chang back with one hand, away from the battlefield to avoid being accidentally injured. As the head of the defense section, Alan still has experience in dragging injured people when they are injured. A strong arm passed through Bo Chang's armpit, hugging almost his entire chest and dragging him backwards. Well, he was dragging him bouncingly. After all, Alan hurt a leg. If both legs were strong, he could shoulder the important task of carrying Bo Chang. It was because one leg was injured. Just now Alan needed Dan Heng's support to move forward. The weak Bo Chang was dragged away from the battlefield like a dead dog. If I had known it would turn out like this, I shouldn't have used the dragon talisman so recklessly. The black-haired boy was a little helpless. I wanted everyone to see my strength and be qualified to get on the bus, but I didn't expect it to be self-defeating in the end. Instead, it becomes a burden. It really makes my teeth hurt. The battle ahead has begun, right in front of the elevator entrance. In addition to the Void Pawn and the Trampler, there are also 2 miscellaneous soldiers, the Void Pawn and the Predator. They must be defeated before everyone can escape. Stand still, I'll give you a blessing. As the pink-haired girl aimed her pistol, a pink ray shot out from her fingertips and headed towards the gray-haired girl. Scene did not dodge and allowed the pink ray to hit her. A new force emerged. A translucent shield appeared on Scene's body. This is March 7's ability, which can protect the gray-haired girl from the enemy, at least until the shield disappears. During the time when Bo Chang was unconscious. Everyone has gone through a lot of battles, and Scene already knows the abilities of March 7 and Dan Heng. All in all, everyone is pretty awesome. Let Scene Chang see it. Chapter 10 Light Cone. Although the strength of Void Pawn and Trample is pretty good, but under the siege of Scene, Danhan, and March 7, it soon failed. The virtual pawns and predators around it were defeated early, and the situation was not good. Void Soldier Trample let out a shrill scream. Nearly 10 Void Pawns and Temporaires were summoned. They were suspended in the sky and stared at the 5 people below with cold eyes. Alan suddenly became nervous. Seeing, Dan Heng and March Chi also subconsciously took a step back. Bo Chang was not worried. When he saw this scene, he remembered. In the original plot, Heimko would come to the rescue at this time. Sure enough. Just when March 7 was holding a bow and arrow, he didn't know which monster to aim at. A black-brown combat drone suddenly appeared. It spun and jumped among the enemy groups, and released a huge single-molecule saw, dealing fatal blows to the surrounding enemies. He defeated half of the Void Pawns and Temporaires in an instant. The seriously injured Void Pawn and Trample was also killed instantly. This combat drone is the weapon of Jitsi, the pilot of the Star Train. Saw someone helping. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Scene and Danhan, who reacted quickly, turned around and picked up Bo Chang and Alan respectively. I have the option of love in the starry sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 8. Taking advantage of the road ahead being cleared, the 5 people quickly entered the elevator. It's finally over. March 7 leaned against the inner wall of the elevator, raised her head, and let out a long sigh. She felt tired after fighting for such a long time. Especially that last scene. If Jitsi hadn't provided timely support, everyone might have been injured before they could escape smoothly. Not like now. No matter Seeing, Danhan, or March 7, the 3 combatants were not injured and achieved the achievement of escaping without any injuries. Certainly. Being able to pass without any injuries is also due to March 7 with her set of shields. The safety margin will be greatly increased. Unfortunately, the duration of this skill is very short, less than 30 seconds. It can only be used by combat members. The maximum effect of the shield. It is easy to waste precious power when used on the wounded. Only in dangerous moments. Shields will be put on the wounded only on March 7. For example, before, Bo was often attacked by unruly people. The combat drone just now was also in the elevator. Scene glanced at the combat drone suspended above the elevator. Then he lowered his head and looked at Dan Heng. This is. The gray-haired girl stared at the other person with her calm golden eyes. Scene knew that among the people present, the most reliable person should be the stern man with black hair and blue eyes. Dan Heng replied, "This is the weapon of GZI, the navigator of the Star Train. She is very powerful. You will be able to see her when we get down later. Speaking of which, is Bo Chang feeling better?" Dan Heng looked at the black-haired boy on Seeing's back. The other person's eyes had been opened. Although his neck was still weak, causing his eyes to be lowered and it was difficult to see his eyes, he was still very observant. The discovery of Cold Noodle Little Green Dragon. Bo Chang could not open his mouth to speak for the time being, but at this moment, the system jumped out. The romance option is turned on. Option 1, do not take any action and wait quietly for others to answer for you. Completion reward, one-time physical recovery of 30%. Option 2, shake your head and say, I'm fine. Completion reward, obtain a 4-star abundance light cone and a post-operative dialogue. Note, such props will be temporarily stored in the system space and cannot be put back again after being taken out. Option 3, Twitch, completion reward, get random props, ranging from matches to Star Destroyers. Note, such props will be temporarily stored in the system space and cannot be put back again after being taken out. Bo-Chang didn't expect that the love option could be triggered at this time. As expected, this thing has nothing to do with love, it is basically triggered randomly. You only have a love option in the name, right? Bo-Chang couldn't complain. Next he began to carefully analyze the 3 options. Option 1, restoring physical condition, seems to be the most disadvantageous, but it is the fastest way to restore one's mobility. The reward for option 2 is a specialty of the Star Vault world. The light cone was invented by Liu Guangyiding. The followers of Fulai Star God refine the memory fragments to make light cones, so that the memory can be preserved, and at the same time, their experience and abilities can be preserved. It is very a rare and enhanced rare item. It is also a rare commodity within the Interstellar Peace Company. It's just that Bo-Chang doesn't have the power of destiny, so he probably won't be able to use this thing. That's okay too. Whether you give it away or sell it, it's great. The random props in option 3 are completely gambling. Last time, he gambled from the 12 talismans. This time, there is no scope at all, and the randomness is extremely high. It's worth mentioning that, I don't know if Bo-Chang's last prayer took effect, but this time there really was no big cockroach. All 3 rewards are actually pretty good. But the light cone has the attribute of fertility, this can be regarded as appearing twice. Could it be that I and fertility have good compatibility in destiny? Reminiscent of the reward last time, it was to open a rich life and gain random imaginary power. Bo-Chang had such a conjecture. But it's just a guess. If he had chosen to start a prosperous life, the black-haired boy would have directly taken down this 4-star light cone without even thinking about it. But Bo-Chang, who chose the dragon talisman, needed to hesitate. It's still a long time, my physical strength can be recovered slowly, don't worry, anyway, my body is nourished by the magical power of the dragon talisman, and my physical fitness has been increased by 50%, so the recovery speed should be pretty fast. It only took half an hour for him to wake up after his physical strength was exhausted. From this, we can see how strong Bo-Chang's recovery power is. The black-haired man was about to eliminate option 1. Suddenly realized something. Wait, I don't have the energy to nod or speak right now, can the system help me after I make my choice? No, please find a way by yourself. If you cannot complete the task, you will be responsible for the consequences. Bo-Chang. Thinking of the unpredictable consequences last time, he had reason to believe that if he did not complete the task, or if the task he completed was not good enough, there would be no reward or a reduction in reward. Do you want to take a gamble? Even if you don't succeed, nothing will happen anyway. Bo-Chang hesitated for a long time. Love options. The countdown has begun. 10, 9, 8. Forget it, instead of wasting options, it's better to regain mobility first to avoid the situation happening again later. Bo-Chang gave up the gamble, option 1. After making a decision, the world in my eyes re-enters the dynamic state. The black-haired boy lay motionless on the gray-haired girl's back. Seeing replied, I don't know, but he woke up just now, so he should be fine. Due to emergency situation. Everyone had just relaxed when they arrived in the elevator. Before Seeing had time to care about Bo-Chang, it was Dan Heng who brought it up first. Chapter 11. Not alone. Rewards are being distributed. Congratulations on your one-time physical recovery of 30%. The pain and weakness quickly subsided, and I felt new strength emerging from my body. Bo-Chang felt helpless. Obviously he could get the light cone, or gamble on a mysterious prop, but he didn't expect that in the end it was because of his own reasons. You can only choose the one that stretches the most. Time is fate, that's all. Anyway, there will be opportunities in the future, so don't worry. The black-haired boy stabilized his emotions. Time travels to the present, not long ago, and the love option has been turned on 3 times. This trigger frequency is not low, and it may not be long. Bo Chang can get a lot of rewards, he is instantly invincible. When the black-haired boy falls into delusion. The elevator has arrived. A group of 5 people walked out of the elevator. March 7th walked in the front, with Dan Hung supporting Alan and Scene carrying Bo Chang on his back. GZI, the navigator of the Star Dome train, has already greeted everyone at the elevator entrance. The red-haired lady looked at everyone who had returned safely with a smile on her face. Her eyes turned to Scene and Bo Chang many times. When acquaintances meet, it is inevitable to exchange a few words. During this period, Scene had no chance to interrupt and just listened to their conversation quietly. The same goes for Bo Chang. Now his body has recovered a lot. But the black-haired boy planned to hang out for a while longer. Before they could even exchange a few words, Alan left. He said he wanted to report the situation to station director Esta. Then the topic fell on Scene and Bo Chang. "Hi, first time meeting you. I'm Jitsi, the navigator of the Star Dome train." March Chi spread her hands and interjected, "That is to say, whatever the train does, she will obey her." "Well, my name is Scene, and the person behind me is Bo Chang. We all have amnesia." The gray-haired girl also introduced herself as usual, and of course she didn't forget the guy on her back. "Have you lost your memory?" Hearing this, Jitsi frowned slightly, and then relaxed her eyebrows. "It doesn't matter. I'll go see Station Master Esta later and ask. She may know your identities." Saying this, GZI had other thoughts in her heart. Then his eyes fell on the black-haired boy. "What's his condition? Is he injured? If so, it's best to put him over there and let the medical staff take care of him. Bo Chang is just too tired." Scene's voice just fell. March 7th said excitedly, "GZI, do you know the vibration in the space station not long ago? That was caused by Bo Chang, his shot was so cool. It's a pity that he died after only 1 shot, and he was blown far away by the air wave caused by the explosion. Fortunately, he was far enough away and was not greatly affected. In addition, when we were fighting the monster, he was also attacked by a sneak attack." The pink-haired girl crackled and told what happened about Ba Kang. These words were spoken when they met Dan Hung and Alan before. "I also said it once on March 7th, but Bo Chang was still in a coma at that time, so he didn't hear it. It seems like she's quite fond of Dragon Explosion." Bo Chang also liked it, but he didn't expect that Dragon Explosion would make him so weak. When GZI heard this, she was a little surprised and said, "Did he actually cause the vibration in the space station just now?" "Of course. Does Jitsi think I will lie to you? Even Scene also saw it, right?" March 7th put his hands on his hips. Scene nodded in agreement. Heimko looked thoughtful. "I see, since he is just tired, then take him with him to see Esta. She is worried about you." When it was discovered that Scene showed no signs of letting go of Bo Chang, Heimko knew that the gray-haired girl might not want to separate from him. "Maybe you want to take care of the other person yourself?" So, under the leadership of GZI, everyone started from the elevator entrance, stepped on the metal floor, and rushed towards Esta's location. This is the main control cabin section, and the venue is very large. How big is it? It can accommodate almost the entire space station. This also leads to the fact that if there are any gatherings, the space station will choose to hold them in the main control module. Because of the attack of the Antimatter Legion, You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I have the option of Love in the Starry Sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 9. In the space station, most people gathered here. They gathered in groups of 3 or 4 to chat, and everyone's face was a little frightened. Scene was observing the people around him all the way. He also saw 2 little guys chatting. Are they also clerks? Of course, Scene, don't underestimate Adler and Wencheling just because they are young. There were few children in the space station, so Sanyuki knew them. When he passed by, he also took care of them and listened to them shouting in a childish voice, "Sister Sanyu." After walking for a distance, a group of 5 people found the acting station master of the space station, Esta, on a triangular platform in front. The woman had her back to everyone, a dark pink short hair draped over her shoulders. She was wearing a white dress with off-shoulder and backless clothes, a cape hanging around her waist, and pink long strips of decorations around her. The exposed flat back could also see dark bra underwear. The projection radar tracking is normal, and the telemetry signal frequency is high. It must be kept at the average level. According to the prediction, the Legion will launch more than 10 waves of continuous attacks. Hold on. Esta had not yet noticed GZI and others who had arrived. She was looking up slightly, looking at the 3D projection in front of her, observing a series of data, and then giving orders to everyone in the space station. March 7 noticed the scene and interrupted the other party. The acting station chief turned around. "Who? I'm glad you came back safely. Alan just came here. I also know about the containment section and his injuries, in short, thanks to your help this time, otherwise." Esther reflected on her mistakes in front of GZI and others. Because everyone in the space station trusted the Black Tower very much, they never thought that the space station would be breached by the Antimatter Legion, including the acting station chief. So they have always neglected the construction of security and combat personnel. This led to this crisis. The invasion of the Antimatter Army caught people off guard. After breaking through the defense system, they launched a fierce attack on the space station. Fortunately, there were people on the Star Dome train, and the hard work of the security department allowed most people to take refuge safely. But the crew of your Star Dome train are all extraordinary. Hearing Esther's praise, Sanyuki naturally put his hands on his waist and smiled. The acting station master's eyes then fell on Bo Chang and Seeing. The head of the defense department informed Esther of their situation. And these two, to be honest, when Alan came over just now, I had already checked the database, and there was no information about these two in the space station, so, they are not from the space station. Seeing looked surprised. If she was not from the space station, who was she? She was confused in an instant. But soon, the black-haired boy behind her gave Seeing a sense of security. After all, she was not alone. Chapter 12 Sincerity is the ultimate weapon. Jitsi had expected all this. After all, she sensed the breath of the star core from Seeing's body. Now it can be confirmed that the other party's identity is strange. As for Bo Chang, Jitsi has no clue, but seeing that they are wearing couple outfits, it is estimated that they are in the same group. Where did Bo Chang and Seeing come from? It's impossible that they were brought by the Antimatter Army. March 7 spread his hands helplessly. Esther shook his head and said, "That's not clear." Dan Hung frowned and looked at the 2 guests of unknown origin. Jitsi changed the subject. "Let's not talk about that for now. Have you contacted the Black Tower about the space station?" "I sent many letters, but all fell into the sea. Miss Jitsi knows her. The space station is the warehouse where MS Black Tower accommodates followers and strange objects. She doesn't care at all." Esther sighed. If the Black Tower could react earlier, the space station would not have become like this now. After all, the other party is one of the 84 super geniuses invited by Star God, Ba Shizun, and is Ba Shizun's messenger, and is at the same level as the Lord of Extinction mentioned earlier. It is a piece of cake for the Black Tower to deal with this antimatter army. I knew it, but it doesn't matter. I will also send a letter to the Black Tower, saying that we have brought the strange things she wants. At least this is still a little attractive to her. Then please. Estelle did not pursue the identities of the two strangers. She could see that GZI was changing the subject. So she would not hold on to this. The red-haired queen looked at Bo Chang and Xing and said, "Xing, you can take Bo Chang to rest over there. I think you will be tired if you run around with him on your back, and he will not be very comfortable. Don't talk nonsense, I feel pretty good now." Bo Chang muttered in his heart. The gray-haired girl nodded in agreement, just as Xing carried Bo Chang away. GZI gave instructions to Dan Heng and Sanyuki again. Go and appease the staff. At this time, no one wants any more accidents to happen inside the space station. The things over there have nothing to do with Bo Chang and Xing. The black-haired boy interfered. Now Xing only needs to take care of him. On the way to the rest area, Bo Chang heard the voices of the crowd. I don't know what the two kids just talked about. The girl suddenly started crying. Nowadays, most people are in a state of panic, and there are quite a few crying people. Affected by the general environment, Xing's mood has become a little worse. We haven't reached the rest area yet. The gray-haired girl suddenly asked, Bo Chang, have you recovered enough to walk on the ground? This sentence made the black-haired boy who was lazily leaning on the other's back startled. It is true. 30% of the physical condition was restored at one time. In addition to the original recovery from resting, the fatigue and pain of the body were greatly relieved, and walking on the ground was completely possible. Of course, there will still be physical fatigue, you know, Bo Chang was overdrawn before. He was also slightly injured and in a very bad state. 30% recovery is not much. When Bo Chang was thinking about how to reply, the love option is turned on. Option 1, although lying is not good, sometimes lying is also a last resort. Tell the other person, no. My body is still very tired. Completion reward, get the skill, pretend to be dead, you can enter the state of fake death at any time. Option 2, sincerity is always the ultimate move, tell the truth, never be long-winded, please reply, yes, I just want to stay on Xing's back for a while, is that not okay? Completion reward, 100% increase in strength. This time, dating option only gave 2 options. It surprised Bo Chang a little, he thought there were 3 options every time. Looked at the 2 rewards carefully. Pretending to be dead is a little useful, but not very useful, and the strength increase can be seen immediately. It is still quite useful for me to improve the basic strength. After all, there are too few uses for fake death. It feels like it is specially used to pretend to be a wounded person, although it is comfortable to be a wounded person, but, I can't always be a burden to the team. Bo Chang made a decision quickly this time. There was no option like the last time, hesitating for a long time. I've decided, option 2, the courageous Bo Chang launched a direct attack. Yes, I just want to stay on Xing's back for a while, is that not okay? The gray-haired girl paused, and a flash of surprise flashed in her golden eyes. She racked her brains. Xing didn't expect the other party to say that. She thought she would say something like, my body is still very tired. This sentence confused Xing for a moment, but she soon returned to normal. Her round and straight legs opened again, and she walked towards the rest area unwaveringly. It's up to you, anyway, even if I put you down, you probably won't be able to walk fast. Xing answered. Bo Chang blinked, and then realized that the atmosphere in the air was suddenly a little subtle. It seems. Maybe. It's a bit like a love option. Bo Chang's black pupils lit up, and he asked, speaking of which, how do you know that my condition is better? Your body told me, when I carried you on my back before, you were all limp, and now, I can feel that you are occasionally trying to keep your balance. Scene looked calm, so calm that he was a little indifferent. Bo Chang nodded thoughtfully and said, so that's the case. We have reached the rest area. Scene stopped. Because of the attack of the antimatter army, many people in the space station were injured. They are basically in the rest area. There are also medical personnel walking around here, looking very busy. Seeing Scene carrying Bo Chang, a medical staff in white came over to ask. What's wrong with him, do you need help? Looking at the friendly medical staff, Scene replied, we want to find a place to rest. He just. Before the gray-haired girl finished her words, Bo Chang interrupted her. I think I'm still a little scratched. Do you have any topical medicine? Okay, I'll get it for you right away. The medical staff nodded and pointed to the floor beside him. You just wait there. After watching the other party leave, Scene frowned. So you are still injured? Why didn't you say it earlier? Was it when you were blown away by the air wave at the beginning? I don't want to worry you either, besides, it's just a little scratch. Bo Chang shook his head. The wound on his back is not serious, he can feel it himself, and there is also system strengthening and recovery. It is estimated that it is almost healed, and now a little medicine will be enough. Chapter 13 Medical Treatment. Scene didn't say anything more, she just silently put Bo Chang on the ground. There is no bed in the main control cabin. Even if there is a temporary one, it has to be used by some people with more serious injuries. Bo Chang, who doesn't seem to have any big problems, naturally can't use it. Rewards are being distributed. Congratulations on your 100% increase in strength. I have the option of love in the starry sky. Author, Lao Cha Shugu. Chapter 10. Until then. The electronic sound of love options is long overdue. Bo Chang asked, why is it so slow this time? In the past, I didn't just make a decision. Because physical growth will improve your body contours to a certain extent, in order to avoid being noticed by seeing, we decided to postpone it unilaterally. So humane. This time the system did not reply. Bo Chang just praised it for being humane, but immediately had no response. What followed was the familiar warmth again, but this time, it was a little more intense. The black-haired boy lying on the ground felt that wherever the warm current passed by, his muscles began to tear and reassemble. But the strange thing is, can't feel the slightest pain. It's just that the muscles are constantly moving under the clothes, which has a kind of cramped beauty. Seeing, who was wearing a black short skirt, closed her legs and sat next to Bo Chang. There happened to be a step for her to sit on, and behind her was the black-haired boy lying on the floor. Seeing's eyes wandered randomly in the main control cabin. This guy was distracted, causing his slightly indifferent face to have a dull beauty. Naturally, Seeing did not observe the changes in Bo Chang's body. The system's rewards will end soon. The medical staff who had just left returned with medical kits. This was a girl, whom Bo Chang could recognize by her obvious gender characteristics. The other party has no intention of making small talk. He put the small medical bag into Seeng's hand, opened it smoothly, and said, first use the medicine in this bottle to wipe his wound, and then stick this to the wound area to bandage it. You should be able to do this, just do it. I'm very busy right now, there are several seriously injured patients over there who need to be taken care of, so he can only be left to you, no problem. The medical staff stared at Seeing with a pair of green pupils, although she felt as if she had never seen him before. But since the space station is very large and there are many people there, it is normal to meet people you don't know. The medic didn't think much of it. Seeing, who was a little confused, nodded subconsciously. Get a reply. The medical staff in white clothes turned around and left in a hurry. It's really busy. Bo Chang sighed with emotion. Many people in the rest area were treating their own wounds, so the two had no objection to the behavior of the medical staff. Sean didn't speak, just looked at the medical bag in his hand silently, and his mind was filled with what the other party had just said. Use this to wipe the wound, use this to stick it on, it seems quite simple. After thinking about it for a while, Sean turned his head, looked at Bo Chang with his beautiful golden eyes, and said, "You are injured in the back, right?" "That's right, I rubbed it on the ground for a distance just now, to be honest, it still hurts." The clothes Yin Lang gave to Bo Chang were of good quality. Anyway, there was no sign of damage despite the intense friction. This also resulted in no one noticing the scratches on Bo Chang's back. "Get up and let me undress you." Sean supported Bo Chang with both hands and asked him to sit up, and then confidently began to take off the other person's clothes. The black-haired boy didn't resist. "Take off your jacket and then your t-shirt." The plump and graceful muscle lines on Bo Chang's body were exposed to Sean's gaze. Originally, before time travel, muscles could be seen on his body, but they were not so exaggerated. After experiencing several strengthening of love options, especially the wave of power just now was strengthened by 100%. Let Bo Chang's figure look good, he noticed that there seemed to be a slight fluctuation in Sean's eyes, but it quickly disappeared without a trace, making people think it was an illusion. The gray-haired girl's movements were very smooth. She asked Bo Chang to turn around and lie down, and then she saw the wounds that had broken the skin due to friction. There were still traces of blood on it. Because there wasn't much blood flowing out, so it just left a little mark on the white t-shirt, which can be removed with a little washing. Sean bowed his upper body slightly and touched the black-haired boy's back with his slender fingers. Slightly cold fingertips traced Bo Chang's muscle lines. "It feels a little itchy. And there is a wonderful feeling rushing out of my heart." Bo Chang, who had never been touched like this by a girl, his breath froze. Next, Sean's fingers pulled away, and she took out the sterilization and disinfection potion from the medical bag. It was a spray type. She took it in her hand and shook it twice, then pointed it at Bo Chang without any knowledge. "Spray the wound. Next, apply wound medicine and wrap it with a white bandage." Although there is no specific study, but Star is still doing very well. Maybe this is an innate talent. The back has been bandaged. The gray-haired girl moved downwards. "Does the lower part need to be bandaged?" While he was asking, Sean's hands had already grabbed Bo Chang's waistband. The black trousers he wore had belts, so they couldn't be taken off so easily. I felt Sean's hands pulling. Bo Chang replied, "It's not good to take off your pants in public." Sean hasn't spoken yet. March 7th rushed over and made a crisp sound. "What's wrong with this? If you're injured, you need to take good medicine. But, since you've been injured, you should tell everyone earlier. If I hadn't happened to see you when I was passing by, I wouldn't have known." Seeing Bo Chang using Dragon Explosion, the space station was shaken by the blast. March 7th subconsciously thought that the other party was very strong. Even if it's just one shot. This kind of attack power cannot be underestimated. So, March 7th did not think that the air wave caused by the explosion could hurt Bo Chang at all. He was blown away at most because of lack of physical strength. Unexpectedly, he was actually injured. It's really weird. With such a strong output ability, the body is actually so fragile. There are all wounded people here, and there are a lot of people taking off their clothes and applying medicine. What are you being pretentious about? Take off your clothes quickly. Take off your clothes quickly, March 7th said and took out the camera. "Bo Chang, your figure is still good. Not bad, Do you mind if I take some photos? Bakame said, if I said you didn't mind, would you not take the photo? Of course it's impossible. March 7th held up the blue camera on his waist and took pictures. If I don't take this picture, I won't be able to sleep well tonight. Bo Chang. Okay, Mitsuki, don't disturb others here, and, don't forget the mission Jitsi gave us. Dan Hung walked over from the side. Chapter 14 Teleportation Ring. The cold-faced little green dragon took away the living treasure March 7th. At this time, Sean continued to ask. Want to take it off? Take it off. Bo Chang was helped up by the gray-haired girl, and he untied his belt and took off his pants. SpongeBob SquarePants boxers appeared again. Sean glanced curiously, then looked away. Let Bo Chang lie down on the ground. Star began to apply medicine to the lower body of the black-haired boy. Things here have attracted the attention of many people. After all, they are a combination of handsome men and beautiful women. Although Bo Chang's face is not particularly handsome, he is blessed with a good figure. It still has a certain appeal. Needless to say, Sean's indifferent look with a hint of cuteness can touch the hearts of countless people. Heimko and Esta also observed them from a distance. Do you have any idea about their identities? Esta asked. Heimko shook her head. No, I don't know their identity, but I am familiar with the scent of that girl. Breathe. What do you mean? Esta showed a puzzled expression. The red-haired lady said, it's the Star Core. Star Core? How is it possible? Esta looked surprised. The Star Core is not a fun thing. It can be said to be the cancer of the world. It will bring disasters, cause space distortion, and can also block the track, making the Star Dome train unable to move forward, and it is extremely difficult to destroy. Only conditions can be created to inhibit the spread of its energy. The Black Tower placed it on the space station to restrain the unactivated Star Core and prevent the Azure Star from being affected by disaster. Esta didn't know this. I just know that Star Core is not a good thing. Heimko spread her hands. The Star Core is very stable in her body. You don't have to worry about it for the time being. Is that so? Esta frowned slightly, then, where is that boy? Are you talking about Bo Chang? About him, I really don't have a clue, but he appeared with seeing there should be some connection between the two. If possible, I want to take them into the car. GZI smiled, you know, I am very experienced in dealing with Star Cores. Well, whatever you want, as long as they don't affect the space station, it has nothing to do with me. From Alan's mouth, Esta learned about the strength of Sean and Bo Chang. But, as a hidden rich lady, she can still recruit people with this kind of strength. This time it was just because she believed too much in the Black Tower and neglected the construction of security, so.